Okay, thank you for your time, Wade. I'm really interested in American football in Australia, and I wonder if you can give us an insight into the current state of play in terms of participation and interest in American football in Australia.
Yeah, good. Great to be here. Good to see you again. It's give you context of the state of the game, where it is at the moment. I started with these guys 6 months ago, or 8 months ago now, just before Christmas, because there's a lot of opportunities in the game. Historically, the game has been here for 40 years. It's its 40th anniversary this year, tackle football. And it's always been played by generally senior men that love the NFL or have lived in America and have come back and started up clubs here. Now, currently there's 4,000 active players around Australia in every state except for the Northern Territory. Obviously, the most popular states have the biggest numbers along the eastern seaboard: Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria, with Perth coming in fourth. And then the smaller territories, Tasmania, Adelaide, and ACT, have all got competitions, but they are small and they're growing. The focus has always been in and around the seniors, and I suppose my job and the reason why I've been brought in is one of those opportunities to grow out juniors. There's a huge amount of interest in the game. Obviously, NFL is a very popular sport now around the world. When I was growing up, when we were growing up, you didn't have access to a lot of the footage that the kids do now. In Australia, we got our sports fix through Channel 7, Channel 10, Channel 2. Where now most people get it through streaming platforms, whether that's on apps, on Netflix, Amazon. So you've got access to those, a lot more American sports content now. And if you look at the people that are dominating those platforms, it's the NFL, it's the NBA, even to a certain extent, Major League Baseball out of the US, and then the EPL and the Spanish La Liga would dominate most of those platforms. So there's a huge amount of interest in the game, both participation and fan-wise, and there's huge opportunities coming up. So that's the state of where it's at, and we're excited about where it's going to go.
Thanks, Wade. Just a follow-up question. You say most of the participants are men. In terms of sort of clubs, and maybe participation in schools, which I imagine, if it happens, is not widespread. What's the picture look like there in terms of maybe numbers of clubs or where they're mainly located? I know you said in the state, but are they? I guess they're around the major cities.
Yeah, so each state has, those major states got around 8 clubs, and they are all based around the major cities. Rural North Queensland has got their own league. And then the Hunter Valley has got their own league, Hunter Region, which is smaller leagues again. But yeah, they're mainly based around the major cities, mainly men's, senior men's, but there is women's competitions. There's a women's competition in New South Wales and Western Australia. And there's also one starting in Queensland, and no doubt Victoria will be pretty close behind that as well.
So you said you're looking to grow the juniors. What opportunities are there currently for juniors, either in community or schools?
Yeah, look, it's mainly high school age. It's not in schools at the moment. There is some private companies out there that run some flag football stuff, which we'll get to in a little bit. But in terms of the tackle side of the game, it's club-based only. New South Wales, its lowest age at the moment is under 19s. Victoria runs an under 13s, under 16s, and under 19s, same as Queensland and Western Australia. And then the other states are at under 19s level as well. But yeah, that's it. That's our focus is growing out the junior ranks is number one priority.
Okay, thanks, Wade. And then the second question then is around, I suppose, the main strategies. I know you've only been in the role 8 months, but if you give us an insight into the main strategies that Gridiron Australia are sort of focusing on to grow that game broadly, and then maybe specifically for younger junior players.
Yeah, for sure. So we're the national governing body for essentially two codes. So there's tackle football, which is NFL style, and there's also flag football, which is a really exciting project that we're putting a lot of focus into at the moment. But going back to the tackle side of it, you know, we just conducted going back a step, it's exposure. It's actually having awareness that we actually play the game here and there's opportunities to play the game here, and then building the infrastructure and behind that to capture that interest in taking up those opportunities, creating clubs, junior teams in clubs, existing clubs that we've got. So we've just completed for awareness and opportunity as well, a national tour, combine tour, based on the NFL combines in the States. The college guys go through to try and crack the NFL. And we went right around to every state looking for talent. And then off the back of that, helping those guys get into scholarships in the US. And it's been phenomenally successful. We just finished a couple of weeks ago. It created a lot of awareness around the country that Gridiron Australia exists, which is great. This is always the first thing that needs to happen. And then off the back of that, it's how good these pathways are for these kids. So we've had 11 kids already been offered full scholarships. Some of those guys are already in the US before the month was out. A couple more gone over on Monday, and they're life-changing scholarships. So it's just creating the awareness for teenagers in Australia that these pathways are available. We're here to help them get on those pathways, and they're life-changing. So full scholarships, you know, some of these guys, $500,000 scholarships, come out of uni debt-free. It'd be nice if you studied medicine or law and you come out debt-free. It's a huge advantage in life where you come out with any degree, and particularly debt-free. It's a huge advantage in life. And then you maybe go on and crack the NFL. There's already a bunch of guys in high schools over there trying to do that. Australian kids, which is growing exponentially every year. There's a whole heap in college football, and then there's the 8 guys already playing in the NFL, Australians. So, and they're looking for more talent. So that's the tackle side of it. We also will be doing that with the women's, and there'll be some initiatives that we will come up with to specifically open up opportunities for the women's. There's a professional, semi-professional league over in the States now, but more for the women at the moment. There's a huge opportunity with flag football, and which is just starting to kick off in the country. So flag football is where OzTag came from. Perry Haddock went over to the States years ago and seen it played in the parks by a lot of people, and then sort of thought that'd be brilliant for rugby league back here, and then brought it back. Some people think it was the other way around, but it's not. That's where it came from. Flag football has been played by over 20 million people, 100 countries, has World Cups, has World Games, is part of the World Games, and is now looks like it's set to be an Olympic sport in 2028. Los Angeles Olympics. And then on top of that, you have a pro league starting for the men in 2024. There's already been 7 franchises sold in the US, and they sell for $3 million each at the moment. So you can imagine there's a lot of emphasis on the sport in the States. The Women's League, Pro League starts in 2025, and already at the moment there's 27 states where flag is a varsity sport, so you can get a full ride scholarship into the States just for flag football, mainly for the girls. So there's an amazing opportunity that we've got in front of us here. There's a huge amount of interest again in flag football. The NFL has been really promoting flag football. There's flag football tournaments going around the country in Australia, run by the NFL in primary schools this year. They ran a pilot program last year, where they take the winner of the tournaments, the Australian champions, if you like, under 11s. They took them to the Pro Bowl week, which is the week leading into the Super Bowl, and they competed for Australia last year in Las Vegas. So with that pathway becomes those pathways opening up right through the Olympics, college, pro leagues. We've got an opportunity here to start opening up our own leagues, and working right from the bottom up to the top. So working at the moment with the Australian Sports Commission to have flag football part of the sporting schools program, which will be a huge opportunity for every school in Australia to be able to select flag as one of their sports, and have someone come in and coach them if they wanted to. Then working on our pathway system, working on clubs, initially fielding flag leagues, opening up flag leagues, which they're all really excited to do to complement their tackle programs, working with universities to start running university leagues, and then with the ultimate goal of being the university games, or the university championships, I think it's called now. And then with the World University Games, obviously, no doubt it's going to be there. And then it goes right up into our state representative teams, into our Australian teams. We just had the senior women's and men's national championships hosted by Gridiron New South Wales, where New Zealand men's team come over and competed. And that's all in preparation for picking 2 Australian teams to go over the Intercontinental Cup in Malaysia at the end of October. And then from there, the Australian program, we're working with the AIS and putting together a proper high performance pathway for those guys in the Australian team. We're very lucky. We have Katie Colbert from Rugby AU, David Joyce, who's headed up 2 Olympic campaigns for England and China. And we've got Paul Devlin on that high performance committee, building that out for us, our strategic plans to win through 2028, preparing for that. Should it get fully endorsed in October and announced, which we're very hopeful of and positive of. So then it starts to go into a biannual process where you have Intercontinental Cups, which we would like to host from now on, into World Cups on even years, Intercontinental Cup qualifiers on odd years, right through the Olympics in 2028. And we'll be part of the bid process that goes to 2032, trying to get flag football into the Brisbane Olympics. So in terms of participation, we're going to get a lot of exposure off the Olympic announcement. We think the NFL is promoting flag football around the world. As I said, there's already over 20 million people playing it in 100 different countries. There's strong leagues right throughout Europe, South America. Mexico, in fact, is a silver medalist at the World Games and the America's Cup for the last 2 years, and actually won the women's won the World Games last year. It's a fantastic sport. It's non-contact. It's 5v5, whether you're playing under fives or you're playing in the Olympics. And we're really excited about the participation growth off the back of that.
So Wade, that's amazing. I'll just summarise, just make sure I've got it right in my head. It sounds like the sort of strategy behind the growth of the game is the use of role models, and it sounds like you're going to have an increasing amount of Australian role models to help that. And real central to that is the flag version of the game, or the central to the growth seems to be the flag version. Great to hear that there's already schools competitions, and I guess with sport in schools, there will be more exposure for those young children to experience the game. And then alongside that is the growth of community and club leagues, and a pathway, right, I guess, from that primary school introduction through to what might be the Olympic Games for Australia. So it sounds really exciting. And my final question then, Wade, is let's go that it is in the Olympics in Brisbane in 32. What would be your sort of dream of what flag, but I don't want to exclude tackle version of the game there. So what would the participation look like in an ideal world in what's only probably 9 years away?
Yeah, look, it's we can use other sports for modelling on that. The closest sport we've got when we're talking specifically with flag would be a cross between AFL and netball. And if you look at the numbers for AFL and netball, they're both over 1 million people participating in the sport. It's not outlandish to say that a sport that has an Olympic pathway, is on a sporting schools program, has a university college pathway, and it has a professional pathway into the States, would not sit well with those numbers, would not sit well with those other sports and those numbers. And it's non-contact. So we've all seen, there is concern out there about the concussions that come with sport. And this is an avenue for those guys as well that are concerned, that they love the game, that not necessarily want to play the contact version of it, they want to play a non-contact version of it. So, yeah, look, if by the time we hit the 2032 Olympics, if Olympic champions in both the women's and men's coming out of 2028, I'll be very happy. There's no doubt that the US see Australia as a big threat to their gold medals. They've released their NFL players to play in that 2028 Olympics. So, we got to pick a team, hopefully, that goes up against the likes of Pat Mahomes. And that's a great dream for any kid. When you talk about role models, that's exactly in terms of exposure to the sport. We actually doing a documentary on the search, which will focus on the roles of those, focus on those individuals that are playing in the States, that are really highlighting, their journeys and their experiences, just so people are aware of what it's actually like to play, or whether it's in high school or in front of 110,000 people at Alabama or Utah Utes in college, or whether they're playing in the NFL, what it's actually like to see firsthand their experience and tell those stories, and tell the stories of the guys that are just about to step onto that pathway as well. That's what drives a lot of exposure for us.
Wade, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that.